What's up guys, Mickle here, and in this video I want to cover two topics that we really haven't talked much about on this channel recently. One, did Ripple sell XRP as a security? Not is XRP a security, but is there a chance that Ripple actually sold XRP as a security? We have some brand new information coming out of both Jeremy Hogan and Stuart Alderati regarding this topic. I want to break down exactly what they're talking about because I think what we're learning is it is going to be really hard for the SEC to win any part of this case. Towards the end of the video though, I want to cover what would happen if XRP was deemed a security. We actually just got a very interesting interview of Mickle Arrington. He was one of the earliest people working with XRP. I want to show you exactly what he has to say about this SEC case because I think what he says here is actually going to shock you, and it's really going to make it seem like this entire case doesn't even matter to a certain degree. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video to see that. You are not going to want to miss it. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. Make sure to take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It's really going to help me out so much. Also, if you ever need a good place to buy some XRP or the Flare token, make sure to check out my favorite exchange I'll pull down in the description of this video. With that said though, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. Now, I want to start this video out with actually a quick PSA. We're actually about to have the third Flare drop. Essentially, these Flare drops are where Flare holders who are delegating their tokens, they get an airdrop of a very significant amount of Flare tokens. Now, the first two Flare drops, I was absolutely stunned with how much Flare I got, and I really encouraged everyone, hey, if you were just holding Flare or you've been waiting to buy Flare and you know you're going to buy it, make sure to figure out how to get those tokens and delegate them as soon as possible, because if you're just waiting and pushing it off, you're really missing out on all these massive airdrops. Now, if you want to learn how to delegate, just look up a video on YouTube. It's really easy. There are tons of tutorials that are way better than I could make, so make sure to go check that out. And if you need a place to actually buy the Flare token, I'm continually adding to my stack, so my airdrops just get bigger and bigger. I have a link for Uphold down in the description of this video. That's where I get all of my Flare tokens. So with that said, let's jump into the video, and I want to cover a topic that I really haven't addressed much on this channel. I personally think the biggest issue for XRP holders and Ripple going forward is whether or not XRP is a security, and that's why I really always cover, hey, is XRP a security or not? I think I've made my points very clear why I don't think XRP is a security, but the fact of the matter is there is another issue at hand here, and that is whether or not Ripple sold XRP as a security. Now, that doesn't mean that XRP is a security. It just means, hey, when Ripple offered this XRP, did they do it in a way that constituted a securities transaction? So what I want to show you here is actually pretty interesting because Stuart Alderati actually put out a fascinating tweet, and this is something that I didn't understand until reading this. So Stuart Alderati actually tweeted out the original Howey brief and was pointing out that in this case, the SEC actually tried to argue something very similar to what they're trying to argue in the Ripple case. The SEC tried to say that a common enterprise wasn't actually necessary as long as you had a community of common interests. The SEC was wrong on this issue. They lost this issue in Howey, and it was determined that common interest does not equal a common enterprise. Now, this is a very significant issue for the SEC because essentially their entire case rides on this false premise. Now, just so you guys understand, in this case, Ripple is arguing that you don't even get to the Howey analysis because there's no investment contract. So what Stuart Alderati is pointing out here is assuming that somehow the judge does find an investment contract and then you get to the Howey analysis, which is where the SEC is arguing from. Well, the SEC is also arguing wrong when it comes to Howey because they are misunderstanding the difference between a common interest and a common enterprise. So I want to quickly break that down because this is so important and shows a fundamental flaw in the SEC's logic. So assuming the judge is able to say that there was an investment contract, which I don't see how she could do that, but assuming she does, I want to show you exactly why the SEC is so wrong in their argument when it comes to Howey. I want to read you this tweet by Steven and then break it down. He said the SEC is claiming that all participants in a brand are a common enterprise if the product has resale value. Use terms that are not crypto. Fans do not create securities, contracts do. And what he's pointing out here is very simple but very important. Just because me and a whole bunch of other people have an interest in Tesla cars, just because, hey, I have a Tesla car and I want the price to go up, and Tesla's selling Tesla cars, they also want the price of Tesla to go up in the secondary market because then they could sell their own Teslas for more. That does not make my Tesla car a security. It has nothing to do with anything. It's completely irrelevant. And that is the same thing the SEC is trying to say with cryptocurrencies. They're trying to say the simple fact that I want my XRP to go up and Ripple also wants their XRP to go up, that means we are in a common enterprise. But that is not what that means at all. The simple fact of the matter is XRP and Tesla cars both have utility outside the company that is selling the product. So it really doesn't matter that Tesla is selling Tesla cars, and it doesn't matter that Ripple's selling XRP, because I can do whatever I want with my XRP. I am not depending on Ripple to increase the price of the XRP. Yes, I am happy if XRP goes up in price, and so is Ripple, but that doesn't mean we are in a common enterprise. The only way we could be in a common enterprise would be if there was a contract linking me to Ripple. If I had some kind of contract from Ripple saying, hey, we promise to increase the price of your XRP, that would be a common enterprise. I would be entering into an obligation with Ripple, the company. But that doesn't exist. And this is where the SEC is completely wrong on the law, and Stuart Alderati nails it here. A lot of people were under the assumption that just because Ripple is doing a lot to increase the price of XRP, and just because XRP holders wanted the price of XRP to go up, that essentially created a common enterprise and checked off one prong of Howey. What we are seeing is that is not true in the slightest, and Stuart Alderati is saying that has never been the case, and the SEC has been wrong on the law here since day one. Now, John Deaton actually pointed out something very interesting in regards to this. He said that the SEC trying to defend this one issue or trying to prove this common enterprise has been a huge issue for them through this entire case, and that's how he knew this was going to be a weak point in their case. He called the SEC's theory regarding the common enterprise a schizophrenic defense, and essentially what he's pointing out here is every single time the SEC tries to get pinned down on exactly what they think, they change their argument. The reason why the SEC is doing this is because they know just as well as us, just as well as Ripple, this is not how the law works. They are desperately trying to change the law to fit their own argument because they know that a common interest does not represent a common enterprise. What they are trying to do is muddy the waters. They're trying to confuse the judges. They're trying to make stuff up on the fly, but John Deaton nails it here. The reason why they are changing their arguments, the reasons why they are panicking and making up absurd claims is because they know this is a weak point in their case, and this really tells you all you need to know about what the SEC's chances are of actually getting a ruling like XRP being the security. And I want to finish this video off and actually show you a clip of Mickle Arrington. He was a very early Ripple and XRP investor. I want to show you what he thinks about this case because I think he has a very interesting perspective that I think you guys are definitely going to want to hear. Now let me play you this clip and then I'm going to quickly break it down, but there's really not much to say. I think he essentially nails it here. So listen up closely to this. This is a guy who's in the know. This is a guy who has made millions and millions of dollars investing. So he's someone you want to listen to when he talks about subjects like this.
But I don't know. And do I think it's a security? From the point of view of the SEC, no. But from the point of view of me, this doesn't matter. Like, what's a security, what isn't a security is totally irrelevant. And it really just comes down to like whether you only allow rich people to trade an asset or you allow everybody to trade an asset. And so when you look at like things like Uber, I was able to invest in one of the first rounds of Uber and Airbnb and Pinterest because I had wealth and had a venture fund. Everyday people who are just as smart or smarter than me also wanted to invest in those companies, or would have if they could have like looked at the business plans like I did. But the government told them that they're not worthy, that they're too poor, and so they can't make good financial decisions on their own, and so they're not allowed to invest in that. And so they don't get to make 10,000x returns on things like Uber and Pinterest and Airbnb and other companies. DoorDash is actually a funny one because I said no to it, but all my friends became multimillionaires on DoorDash. So now it's the same damn thing. The SEC comes in and they say, we don't think poor people, their definition of poor, are smart enough to make decisions that rich people are. And so we're going to stop them from doing that. That's evil. And so who cares what the definition of a security is at the end of the day? And we can debate that all day, although I'd probably tune out at some point because I don't care. What I do care about is that we should stop fraud, and we should allow people to make any decisions that they want to make, financially speaking. And that's it. And that's the end of the conversation from my point of view, because I'm only looking at it philosophically.
So I think that was a really interesting perspective on this case. Michael Arrington essentially thinks that XRP is going to be around no matter what happens in this case. He thinks XRP is going to be fine. The government's going to have to figure out a way to regulate it, whether it's a security or not. And essentially the only thing the SEC is trying to do is get jurisdiction over XRP to kick retail out. There is going to be a lot of money made in cryptocurrency over the next 10 to 15 years. The SEC, obviously, based on past actions, has done everything they could to keep retail out of the most profitable investments. Michael Arrington thinks that's a big part of what we're seeing here. He thinks the SEC wants to control this market and decide who gets to get rich off of this. Now, I don't know necessarily if that is 100% right, but he has a lot more money than me, he is likely a lot smarter than me, and I think that is a very interesting perspective that I do think is right to a certain degree. No matter what the SEC calls XRP, it is going to trade everywhere else in the world, they're not going to be able to shut it down, and eventually banks in other countries are going to have to interact with US banks, and if they're using XRP, US banks are going to tell the SEC, hey, figure out how to regulate this thing, but we're not going to say we can't accept this payment because you're essentially stifling this innovation. They're going to figure it out no matter what XRP is called, and I think Michael Arrington makes a pretty interesting point here. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did, and for now, Mickle out.